What's up, everyone? Curtis here with another episode of Everything Entrepreneurial. In this episode, I'm speaking with Alison McMurtrie. Alison is the founder of Idunn, a trusted guide to assist, grow, and scale your business. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Okay, Alison, thanks very much for coming on Everything Entrepreneurial. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business?
So I am Alison McMurtrie, and I have two businesses, but I'm really only going to talk about one today. So I know, because why not?
Why not?
So my main business is Idunn Consulting. So I formed Idunn Consulting just a little bit over a year ago, and it was really from looking at the Irish business ecosystem and just wondering, where is the support? If not all Leos are created equal. If you're wanting to grow your business or recover your business, through these tough times, where do you go? How can you, if you've never made a business plan to go to the bank before for a loan, where do you even start? And so I saw this as a real gap in the market of support for Irish Indigenous businesses. And that's really why I formed Idunn Consulting. And that's really our kind of niche, is with the small to medium-sized businesses. And we help them, we go in and we work with the business owners to really identify where they can improve their business, where they can increase profits in a sustainable and repeatable way for the future, and how they can improve the processes so that the owner isn't having to do everything themselves, but we can automate or put in or take some of the load off them and do some of the tasks ourselves, until such point that they can employ a member of their own staff, part-time or full-time, to take that over. And that's really us. That's Idunn Consulting, and we're at Idunn, IDUNN.ie.
Very good. So tell me, why did you get into this? Why did you get into consulting? Do you have a passion for small businesses and entrepreneurship?
So I used to work in, it's a bit of a common theme when you start talking to people, but I was in the corporate world, and and I resigned in December 2019, just as the pandemic was hitting over in the East. And I knew it was coming because we were in a global business and I had a global role, but I just felt that now was the time. And I had done a bit of study. I'd done an MBA, and I'd done my dissertation on the Irish small to medium-sized businesses and the startup environment here. And I really think that, large businesses and corporations, they're great and they have a place in the world, but where is the employment opportunities for Joe Blogs, for the Alison McMurtries, for the Curtises? 90% of 95% of all people employed are employed in a small or medium-sized business, right? And that's the same in Ireland, and it's the same overseas as well. So the majority of people are employed by these small and medium-sized businesses, and yet the churn of these businesses is really, I find it quite horrific that, only 1 in 10 businesses will get to year 10. Why? That is just bonkers. Only a third will get to year 5. And it's like, all these people are investing their time and their efforts with these, I'm assuming, great ideas, but something's missing to get them on that next step, to keep them going, to keep that momentum going. And really, I became really, really passionate about, looking at the legislation, looking at the budgets, which, I know a lot of people find very boring, but call me a geek, whatever. But, I wanted to just kind of translate it for everyone, so they could understand it and understand, what mechanisms are there out there to support your business? Where can you actually get support? What do you actually need to grow your business? If you have a product and you're just selling off Instagram and Facebook, what's your next step? If you want to get bigger, what is your next step? Do you go to Shopify? Do you go to Etsy? Or do you go something bigger? Do you go to, an Arnott's or, a Dunn Stores, what are the next steps and how can we help facilitate that? And I find that there's kind of a gap there, whether you're in manufacturing or whether you're in selling or whether you're in a service, really educating around that point and coaching them. I don't call myself a coach, I call myself a guide, in that because I want to be on that journey with you, because I think that it's a very lonely journey and there's a lot of advice out there and people go, here's my advice, good luck, see you later. But I like to go on the journey with someone and, be there as a touch point to help them in their success.
That's very important. I think that's very valuable. Yeah, 100%. But for yourself, just to touch base, because I'm interested, I'm always interested when people have a corporate job, corporate life, and then they're like, do you know what, feck this, I'm going to start my own business. So what made you like jump ship? What made you start your own business? Was there anyone in your family, your friends that had their business? Like, did you take inspiration from someone? Tell us a little bit about that, because it is a daunting task and it's a great adventure.
And you would say that I am absolutely bonkers, and I am, right? Self-confessed. So I was in the oil and gas industry, and I joined it directly from university. So I left home effectively when I went to university, 17, 18 kind of age. And I'm originally from the north, but now living in Ireland. And I just knew that I never wanted to work in the UK or Ireland. That's how I found a job. And I had no idea what oil and gas was. I studied engineering and it was great. I've worked all over the world. I had a fantastic career. I reached an executive position in a global organization of over 130,000 employees. I was global HR, I was global technology manager. It was really, really good. But for me, something was missing. There was no connection. I was up there and, the little tower of power. And, I was always on the road and I wanted to be on the road more. But unfortunately, I have, unfortunately or unfortunately, depending on what way you look at it or what day of the week it is, I have 2 kids. So I couldn't be on the road all the time. And my husband works overseas as well, so he was only home part of the time. So I was effectively like a single parent for just over 50% of the time. So you couldn't always just drop everything and go and travel and meet people and things like that. So as well, the thing is I'm quite energetic, a little bit, lots of ideas bubbling, love a good discussion, a good passionate discussion. And that doesn't always work in environments. They tend to move a little bit slower. There's a lot of, informed discussion, people being very careful about the way that they portray themselves, the way that they communicate, because, God forbid, you might, annoy someone. And, that just, we were in like this juggernaut train just on the tracks, and it wasn't moving, right? And I was just, I was really into AI, predictive health maintenance for assets and tools, and all this really cool stuff that was coming out, and the train was just in one direction. And I found that I was just getting really bored. I was in this really great job. I was working long hours. I was all this, I could really make a difference to people's jobs and their lives and their careers. But I was just, I just didn't want to go to work. I was just really bored. So I took up an MBA while I was working full time. And I did an MBA part-time, like in the evenings.
Fair play to you.
And really because I'd always been with one company, and if you've always been in one company, you start to question yourself as to your skill set. So yes, you've done well in this company, but will other people think that you have valid skills outside of that industry? And so I needed a bit of self-validation that actually, yes, outside of this business, outside of this industry, I do actually kind of know what I'm talking about. And so I did the MBA to kind of validate the skills that I had built up over my career. And to me, going into, I didn't know really, I mean, yes, I know some people who have a small business or a little side project, side hustles and bits and pieces, but I didn't really know anyone who had gone into consulting. But it was just so clear. It was just, there was no question that this was what I needed to do and where I needed to be at this point in my journey. And so it was just so obvious that I never questioned it. This was the route, this was the path. And so, yeah, that's why I'm here now.
Yeah. And what was the most daunting part of that? Was it taking the leap of faith? Was it unsure about financial situation? And was there a fear of failure, fear of rejection? Like, talk to me about that part, because I feel like the mindset is probably one of the most important aspects for an entrepreneur to get right, because if they get their mindset right, I'm pretty confident that they can get their business right. You know, there's a lot of stuff that holds most people back is actually all in their mind, you know, that way. So yeah. Could you share any kind of struggles or anything like that?
Oh, like where to begin? I mean, I was quite lucky in that I had been kind of considering doing something for some time. So I've been squirreling away, right, so that when I did leave, because I didn't know if I left, was I going to another job? Was I going to start my own business? I didn't know at that stage. But I just thought, when I leave, I want to be financially secure for a couple of years so that I don't need to stress. Yeah. So I'd done that. So I was quite thankful that, you know, I was able to do that. But I think it goes back to the self-validation. You know, you go from a corporate world where everybody knows you, right? And everybody knows who you are and what you can do. And you network within that organization or with, you know, your suppliers and your customers, and you build up a reputation with it. When you leave and you go and do something completely different, no one knows you. And you need to start from scratch, and you need to be out there hustling and networking like you've never networked before. You might have networked before, but this is a whole different beast of putting yourself out there and, you know, just making sure that you're very consistent in your messaging, that you always have the answers, that you're always saying the same things, and just, you know, translating that, you know, you've got the skill set, you've got the customer base, you can help people, and this is how you do it. And you can justify that because you've got the experience behind you. And being able to translate that in short, succinct way so that people remember who you are. And I think that was definitely the hardest and the biggest thing that I underestimated. I had planned that, you know, it would take me a good year to network and build up a bit of a reputation. But I think even a year, maybe it was the pandemic, maybe it was just I underestimated it. But I think that that's still 12 months is still shy. I think that it really just continues. By the time you work out your messaging, then, you know, it's like 12 months once you get that little sweet spot that I don't like elevator pitches, but, you know, how you want to communicate who you are and what you can do for them. Once you get that, then that's 12 months. Yeah. And I think that was the hardest thing.
Yeah, and not to add fuel to the fire or anything, but myself, I don't know if you know, I run a digital agency here in Dublin, and I've been in business since 2018, so just about 4 years now. And yep. What you've literally been saying, it's kind of, for me, it's been a constant of evolution of the business and who I'm actually serving, and who I started serving originally were really small micro businesses. It was just myself starting off, and then my partner came into the business, and now we have employees, and the types of businesses that we actually want to speak to and communicate with and deal with has totally changed. So, and it probably will constantly change as we grow and stuff like that. So like, it's a constant evolution, and it's constantly learning and adapting, but that's what keeps it interesting. And I'd say for someone like yourself, you have 1,000,001 ideas. If you're helping these businesses,
you're then putting yourself into those businesses, and then you're thinking of ideas for them. So I'd say that's a great position for yourself to be in.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that it's, I always tell people that, again, another term that I hate, I'm not a fan of business books. I read them, but I'm not a big fan of them because I think they're too static. But this word pivot that we've been throwing about for the last 2 years, to be honest, if your business is not evolving and changing constantly, you have no business. It's dead. Because even if you're not in a pandemic, you're constantly having to look at the evolution of your business. Maybe your demographic of the clients changes as you grow, or, and there's different things, their needs change, and you have to adapt your business to that. So yeah, maybe things were sped up a little bit, but I think that if your business is not constantly thinking of new ideas, looking at new avenues and constantly evolving, then, your business is on a downward spiral, and it's going to be really hard to recover, because one thing in business, you cannot be static.
Yeah. The one thing I think that I say when I meet people and I'm chatting about business is I think momentum is extremely powerful. Now, it can be powerful going downhill as well, if you take the foot off the gas and you're just coasting, and like out of nowhere you don't have like a sales pipeline, or you don't have anything kind of moving forward, like it's hard to get back going up the hill, that way. But if you keep the momentum going and you have proper processes and planning in place, like it's definitely achievable. So you would be open, since your year or so in business, you've probably learned a lot more than you initially thought yourself. What's your attitude towards self-education? Because I feel entrepreneurs, they always need to be learning, like constantly growing themselves.
Yeah, I am a big self-learner. I am just always, I've got about 3 books on the go. I did I finished my MBA just as I was setting up the business. And then I was like, right, okay, what next? So then I did, I was really interested in, the way I have a bit of an HR background and experience. So I was really interested in the interaction of teams and emotional intelligence. So I became an emotional intelligence practitioner. And then once I'd done that, I was like, okay, so what next? So then I was like, okay, well, sustainability is a really big hot topic, and small, medium-sized businesses really should be looking at how they can build this into their business. And there's lots and lots of content and support out there for all the big ones, but how can we translate it and make it relevant to the smaller businesses? So I went and I did a course at Cambridge University on sustainability in business. And so I just finished that, and I'm just like, okay, so what's next? So I think that you're absolutely spot on, that you really have to, you have to stay relevant, because if you're providing a service to people, the digital world evolves and changes so fast that you have to stay relevant, whether it be the latest algorithm change on Instagram, or how TikTok works, or even just understanding NFTs and blockchain. And, now it's all, there's a lot of chatter about Web3. How is this going to interact with your business? Where it's relevant, if you don't stay relevant and up to date on those things through reading, and it can be just reading, the business section of the newspaper. It doesn't have to be a professional course. It could be picking up a book at the library. But if you don't, I think your brain kind of goes to sleep. And then I think that's you start on the momentum of a downward spiral. I think any business owner who does not prioritize some form of learning is missing a trick.
Definitely,
because that can really put them to the next level and differentiate their mindset from their competitors.
100%. So if anyone was looking to get in touch with you, who'd like to work with you, where's the best place to find you?
So they can book a Calendly slot directly on my website. So idunn.ie. You can find us on LinkedIn at Idunn Consulting, or Alison McMurtrie, whichever works for whoever. And we're also on Instagram and Twitter as well. And we tweet little useful little bits of information and helpful articles and things that we think that other people should be interested in. So yeah, reach out, and we'd love to work with anyone who wants to either recover or grow their business for the future, or just simply build a business plan.
Brilliant. Well, once again, Alison, I appreciate your time. Thanks very much. And I look forward to staying in touch and watching your business grow, all right?
Yeah, super. Thank you so much, Curtis.